Hey, back with the second episode, guys. Let's start with the things which we need to do right now. We already have this application running with without a persistence layer. So that's what we are going to add using Firebase. We already have the project pods added. So Firebase is already added. Firebase comes with all these. So we had added 3 pods. So that's right now available. We also configured Firebase here. That's done right now. So whatever we are going to right now do is to create the database side which is going to do things like CRUD operations, create, update, delete, and finally we'll do the fetch part. So in this episode we will concentrate on create, update, and delete. Finally, the last episode will be for fetching. So let's do this. So whatever we need right now is to create the database side. Before that, let's create something. Let's create a group for model. So like I said, this is going to use Codable to actually send the data to the Firestore side. So we already have, if you're not aware, we already have the Firebase database cloud store created. Earlier it used to be real-time database but they have come back with the better one called Cloud Firestore, which is what we are going to use right now. There is no collection available right now. Let's create that. So let's create my first struct model object, which is going to implement a Codable. That's going to be to do item struct to do item implementing Codable. So we're going to have some fields on it. I need for this to work, let's say if you need to, I have things like I can say it has done, so it's completed now. I can make it undone, so it comes back to where it was earlier. So this washing clothes is done for the day, so I'm just making it done. So fine, majorly whatever I need is, let's say, an identifier to, let's say, know what is the item that I'm looking at. Then I need something to save it as a title, and then finally I need to keep its state maintained, whether that item is completed or not. So that's to do item is complete or not. Let's also create that enum coding keys in case you need to have a different name on the server side, then you need to configure it right away here in this Codable coding keys section. So id, there's no case for me to do that because whatever server I am gonna create is my own, so I'll just maintain whatever I need as the key param names. And then that's done. So to do item is created, which has id, name, and completed. Let's now just create a group. This is where I'm going to create the database side. Let me just call that as database. So this being this being something like handling the server side as well as persistence, we don't really need another service side to be done separately. So we can just define the persistent side, which will actually handle the syncing to the server itself. So that's the simplicity which Firestore is bringing. So let's create something called as a to-do DB. This is going to be a protocol which is going to define the CRUD things which we need. Like let me just call it as to-do DB and add some functions to it, like add. So I'm going to use the model to use using, maybe I can just to do item. It's going to accept a to do item and then save it to the persistent store. In this case it is Firestore. And then I'm going to also have update, same things mostly. Update this, add an update. So at least for add, maybe I can just say it's going to return a boolean. Update, it's going to be an asynchronous process, so I cannot just say return a value here, so I'm just keeping it as void itself. Then you can have a closure and then report back that completion if you need to, let's say, but I'm not going to that extent right now. It's more like how do we use Firestore here. That's the main intention. So I'm just gonna keep it as simple as possible. Delete using, maybe here it's using ID. I'm gonna delete it using ID because that's what I just need. Delete using an ID. That's it. Right. Again, it's a synchronized one. So at least these are the read part I'm going to add in the next episode. This is more going to approach however we are going to implement add, update, and delete. So these are the things we are going to use a model object which is implementing codable here, and then that's going to actually do all the CRUD operations. So let's create a real implementation for Firestore database. Firestore database. So this is where protocol oriented programming comes into picture. Firestore database. It's going to implement extension. Firestore database implements our to-do DB. So let's say I had another database like Chrome, like Realm or Core Data, then I can just easily replace that the database which is conforming to, let's say, our view model is going to consume this instead of this real thing. So it's very easy to replace one thing with the other if you're just conforming to the protocols. That's why I said I'm not going to make it a simpler MVC application which will directly consume things. Instead, I'm just keeping that separation of concerns as much as possible here. So I'm going to include each and every functions which we have defined here. Yeah, add, update, and delete is added here. So it's going to ask me to return something here, otherwise it's going to give me an error. I'm just going to say false. Rest of the things are fine. So let's compile. Everything is fine right now. CRUD operations, at least add, update, delete is done. Read is something we'll do, take up the next one. So we have this ready right now. So what do we know? What do we do right now? So as part of the CRUD operations, let's say how is that Firebase is gonna add an object. So for that, it uses collections and documents. Like you see here, it starts with a collection. You create a collection, add a document. You can again have a document inside a document, a collection inside. So structure is up to you how you define it. So in this case, at least I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. It's going to be a collection that which I'm going to create called to-dos collection, and then it's going to have the document within it. So each collection gonna have all these documents. So just first thing first, let me add. So let's get that dependency here. So I'm just gonna init this, keep it as a singleton or something. So I'm gonna keep it as private singleton, and then I'm gonna introduce the Firebase part here, Firebase DB, which is like we need to call the import first thing first, import Firebase Firestore. I guess that's, then import Firebase core, and I also need the last one which I had called Firebase Firestore Swift. So this is something which allows me to pass or serialize or deserialize my to-do DB codable object. Sorry, it's not a to-do DB, to-do item codable. It can be used directly. That's the advantage which this library, that's the reason I have included this. So Firestore database. So I just need to call Firestore dot Firestore. That's how you instantiate a Firestore instance. So you already have the Firestore DB available in your Firestore database which we had created. So let's add the first add part. just very simple. You need to, let's say I'm going to create a collection called to-dos collection. So this is what I'm going to use. This is my collection. So as soon as I create it, it's going to reflect here as a collection, and under it is what all of these documents are going to get added. So let me do that. So it's going to work like this. Firebase DB. So this is going to be a private let. Firebase DB dot add a collection, or call the collection, give its path, which is going to be this to-dos collection, and then just keep that indentation in place. And then I'm gonna add a document. So you get options like add document, add from encodable, add from data. So because we have added this Firebase Firestore Swift, that's the reason we are getting add document from encodable. So you know that this type is an encodable type, so you can just pass that. So add document. So document has nothing but ID, name, and completed. These are the three parameters which we are going to pass. So once you Firebase, you call this collection.add document, it's going to get added under to-dos as one item. So every add is going to happen like that. Under the collection, one item you're going to add. So it's going to give me an error because cannot convert return type to bool. So also this call can throw, but it's not marked with try. This is because we are using the JSON serialization using, or the codable way where it throws an exception. So you can call try here, but then for that you need to have a do block, do, and then keep this inside try. Then you can call a catch, let error equal to error. Sorry, let error. And then if there is an error, you can say return false, it failed, or else say return true, so write succeeded here. So that's what we'll do here. Maybe you can also print what went wrong. So add document failed with an error. You can just say the error. So that's what went wrong. Maybe re-indent this. That's it. So it is expecting a result. So maybe I can just, let's say, let reference of that object which is being created, so I can always print and see whether add document succeeded with id equals reference.document id. So that's what you get back as a response once it is added. So this document addition or this persistent can happen locally as well as remote, on a remote way, like on the server side. So if you are offline, then even then this reference id is going to get created, and that's what it'll use to sync with the server. So this is done right now. This is the add part. It's pretty simple. You create a Firestore instance and then call it on a collection. I created the collection name as to-dos, and then I just say add document from to-do, and then if it succeeds, return true, success. If it does not, return false. So next thing is that I do an update. So this is going to be a little different than whatever we did here. So let's also do that. So for that, let's bring in the Firebase DB dot same thing collection. You know what the path is, which is to-dos collection. I'm gonna pick that one specific item from that collection and gonna update that. So that's what I'm gonna do. So where I can do a where field, and then I say ID, it's going to be on ID, and then I can also change this to is equal to the value which you like to do item dot ID. So this is what I'm comparing it on. If I get that field, I can get all the documents. It's going to be 1, but then snapshot and error. So I'm getting all the documents which is matching this condition. Ideally it's going to be 1, but I'm just doing this snapshot and error. And if there is an error, we can say something went wrong here, like print error, document error or something. Print that. If not, let's do the next thing, which is like reading that document. If let document equal to snapshot dot from all the documents dot get the first. I'm going to get the first. I'm just expecting only one document to be there. And once I have done that, I can just get, you already have the documents reference here, document dot, I just say reference, and then because this is my document snapshot first object, I take that reference. I can then now replace the current one with the codable one which we have right from whatever we are passing here. I can just pass that. So this will just replace my existing one with the new one. So ID matches, it just replaces. That's how it's gonna work. Let error. So that's done. So still it's giving me an error here. So I need to add a do block. Let's do that. Do try catch error. Maybe same error, document, or maybe read error, document read error. That went wrong. So this is how you do it. It's pretty simple. Firebase DB collection, which is my to-dos collection. That's where I'm saving everything based on where condition ID, which I pick up from the item I have passed here, and then get a document, get all the documents, and it gives you something called as a snapshot and error. So using the snapshot, get all the documents and take the first one, take its reference and set that data. That's pretty much simple as that. So this is your update. It's pretty simple, I guess. Hope you are not confused here. Let's go to the last thing, which is delete. So it's going to be very similar to how we did the update part, just that instead of this reference or set, we're going to just call delete on it. So that's how simply it is going to be. So let's do that. Firebase DB dot collection, to-dos collection. Then I do the same thing where field equal to, so ID, I'm query on ID. Here it's ID. So it's going to be ID. Then I'm gonna get all the documents. Get documents. Again, snapshot. It's a query snapshot. Error. And then I'm gonna do if let error equal to error. Same thing, print, maybe read document failed. Sorry. Else do the processing again, like if let document equals, so you're getting this from the snapshot dot documents dot first, then you have the document reference available, reference dot, you can just call a delete, and it gives you a completion block as well. Error if something goes wrong, so you can also print. delete failed with error. That's done. So that's delete for you. Simple, isn't it? It's just plain simple process. Does not do need a try catch because we are not doing anything with that codable thing here. So our database persistent side, at least the add, update and delete is available right now. So next step is to bring this part onto our view model side. So we already have things which are working in a way, not persistent way, but then it's just doing non-persistent way right now. So as soon as you launch it, it's not gonna remain. So undone. So what we are going to do here is bring this add part, sample, then delete. This is again the update part which we are doing. So three things we are going to do using persistent layer. As soon as I get rid of these things, you're not going to see any of that happening. Launches with a clean slate, nothing is there. So whatever I add, this is not gonna get persisted. Like if I relaunch it, you're not going to see that sample. See, it's not persisted. So let's start. So even the sync is not happening. So these are the things which you're gonna see happening, or not at least in this episode, but at least whatever we are going to add here is going to get reflected in the screen. So that's what add update is going to get reflected in this database side. That's what we'll do here. But syncing to the app side is going to happen on the third episode. So let's start. Let's think. First thing first. Let's bring. You already have the delegate functions doing the job, like on delete, on done, on add. What needs to happen? So bring the database here. Database. It's going to be to do DB. And I'm just going to instantiate it here itself. So let me just call that as Firestore database dot shared instance. And then let's have that private instance here itself. I cannot have it private because this is going to work on an extension. Let's just keep it as database to do DB. So it's only exposing the database through this protocol self.database to database. That's done. So your database is right now available through this database is now available through this init. Let's go to the delegates right now. So whatever is happening right now on add, let's start with the basic add. Whatever is happening right now is it's just picking that value which needs to be shown as the new item. It's picking sub index. I'm gonna get rid of all this view creation. It's appending. This is how it was actually reloading and showing you the real time. I'm going to get rid of all these right now, at least this much. Okay, let me just get rid of all this, because on to do right now it's going to accept this value into the persistent database. So let me just bring that here. So I already have the database available, and it's going to call the add function, which is expecting a to do items. I'm going to create that right here itself using, it's going to use ID, name and completed. So it's not formatted, or the init is not yet there which can accept proper values. So I'm going to modify this again. Let me just go and see. Okay, so let's create an init for this ID string, but it's going to use something like a UUID. So for that I need to import foundation UUID dot UUID string. That's what I'm going to use as the identifier. And then let me just bring name string and completed boolean, which is by default is going to be false. So my job is not yet completed. To do item is not completed. So that's my init right now. Init completed is completed. That's my init. Let's go back to the placeholder. So let me modify this again. Item. It's just accepting a name here, which is my new value. This is nothing but whatever I'm entering in this. Once I add, this value is coming to the view model, coming from the view controller like this. It should compile now. Fine. Let me show you that piece of code. My view controller. So on add item button click, it's just setting that value of the text here, and then on the view model I'm just calling this function view model on to do add item. That's what is happening here. So I get the new value, new to do item. So that's a view model property where I'm setting that value and this using that to pass to the database right now. So I'm not expecting to print anything here, true or false. Maybe I can just do that. If let success equals, okay, so it cannot be an if let success equal to this. So it's print add from view model just value, just kind of print success. So that's my add. Plain simple. You want to check this out, you can. Let's do that. Before that, let me also add something on the to clear this. I need to do something. To the view model, go to the view controller. I'm going to add function here to reset things. I'm just calling it reset. I'm going to implement that. Okay, reset. It's nothing but text field new item dot text. I'm going to reset that into empty as soon as I hit add. I'll just call that after this is done. So I can just call that view dot reset. So this is nothing but a reference of view model. View is available to the view model as a weak reference. So we are just passing it while creating the to-do view model. It is accepting the view's reference as a weak reference so that it can do some processing here. A weak reference of view is happening here. So that's what is happening here. So once that call happens, it will trigger here and then it will reset this thing, the text field there. So that's pretty much what we'll do right now. So our ad is ready. Let's see whether that gets reflected on the on this side. Let's do that. Let me just run the app pro. Running. Okay, let's keep it on the side and then show the database here. So we need to, let's say I'm gonna start with work add. Crashed. Let's see what went wrong. It's saying main thread checker UI API call on the main thread. So let's get that fixed. So let's just refresh and see whether this ad has happened or not. I think it's only the first time I need to refresh. Next time it will just directly reflect it. Oh, nothing has happened though. It's not added anything yet. So let's fix this one. So go back to the view model, delegate. So this the view call is happening here. Let's just run that in the background main thread. So Swift dispatch in the main. To need this view dot reset. Needs foundation. Still showing some error. Where is that? Okay, it's the same thing, but I think right now it should be okay because we are running it in the main thread. Stop it, run. Okay, let's again try the trick. Here again we are. Work. What? Nothing failed. So add from view model is true. Add document succeeded with ID is returned here. So maybe we can just refresh. Yes. To do. First item is here. Keep adding. Let's say I'm gonna add a movie here. Add. It's reflected. It's on your server. Movies here. So it's not getting reflected here because we are not yet fetching or taking a snapshot of whatever is happening here. Movie shopping 3. It's added here. 30. So shopping is also added. So that's how it's going to work.